3,
Yeah,
and he can't vote.
Hello, everyone, can you hear us?
so I don't know where Jason is, because
Yeah, we need Jason, because this is,
I can't, yes.
I did,
Jason and I met, we both reviewed it very carefully, and then we met this morning to go to, we had both highlighted different sections of it, and we had highlighted the same things. And we met to come up with a plan of attack to explain this to everybody.
yeah,
So then, Donna cannot make it.
we can use some explanation.
Oh, yes.
I mean, honestly,
Did you
this,
print it in color?
Yeah.
That's not the report.
no, this is the addition.
Oh, okay.
This is the core. This is what you sent me, the next thing you sent. This is the core report.
Transtech,
You know, this stuff.
I sent you the.
Oh, I got this.
Oh, you have, oh, you didn't have a phone. Did you have?
Well, listen. And
No.
then there's this.
Show me what that is. I never remember.
This is all the core work.
Oh, yeah, well, I sent you all the appendices and everything. No,
No,
we're not
I
gonna-
think that's,
no,
for me, that's one of the most impressive parts. Because it shows you why
why it's
my street
it's falling
is a
apart.
mess.
Yeah, exactly. So, let's see, Donna's not, let me call this meeting to order. Have you started?
Yeah.
Hang on.
Jason, we're expecting some expounding here.
I can expound.
Good.
Let's see. We got
Dollars
Dawn,
talk.
Huh?
Dollars talk.
Really?
Ronnie, Margaret, Aldous, Linda, Jason, Donna. Donna is not joining. Ronnie is waiting. I'm here. Linda is here. Jason is here. I just don't know whether Dawn is joining.
He's on there.
Oh, are you there?
Yeah,
He's on the-
I'm sick, so I couldn't come to the city hall.
Let me just join here so I can see people on this thing.
He's got those cool glasses.
Sorry, everybody, I'm a little bit slow here. Residence calendars. Preferred. Okay. All right, so, oh, and then the, can you let me in?
I got you, Margaret. No worries.
One, got one, Ronnie, Linda. Okay. So, this is the, truck committee meeting for September. I'm just going to do roll call. Duan, we have online,
Yeah,
Ronnie is online,
Here.
Margaret and Linda
Here.
are here in person. Jason is here in person. Donna is not joining us, and I do not believe that Aldous is joining. Jason is also here. Linda Fenoff, I see you, I think. Yep, I do. And Logan is running the meeting, the electronic meeting. So we have just one agenda item here today. We finally got our report from Transtech. So we want to go through this. It is a very, very difficult report to read, as I'm sure you all have realized by now. It's very, very technical. So the strategy this evening I'm just going to go over, high level, what we're going to do here. We're going to begin by explaining the segments that they looked at. We'll look at it, we'll put stuff up on the screen for that. We're going to go through what segments that they looked at and where they are. Jason's then going to describe for us the deflection process and the cloning process, just at a high level. We are then going to look at the deflection graphs in the report and link those to the findings, 6.3, relating to what it actually means. Then we're going to look at table 8, which looks at the lifespan of the various segments in the report. Jason has done some estimates on the cost impact of trying to keep the roads functional. Then we're going to go back to the findings and talk through those. And then we need to talk about what do we want to recommend to the Common Council next step. So what I'd like to get out of tonight's discussion is we go through this, we understand what we're looking at. There are a couple of routes that we, not routes, a couple of avenues I can using.
Solutions.
Thank you. Solutions or options that we could think about, one being weight limits, one being truck type and so forth. But what I'd like to get out of this is a sense of what we would like to recommend to the full council. Then the next meeting of the council in October occurs before our next meeting. I can put together a draft of what we want to recommend to the council. In our October meeting, we can finalize that and then bring it to the council in November. So that's the goal for tonight. Any questions on that? Okay, so let's begin with Logan, if you would pull up the graph that shows the segment. I'm just going to pull that up here on my screen.
This graph.
Could you go to the one you just had, number 4 or page 4? There's just a quick one on page 4.
This?
The map.
Oh,
the blue and green.
sorry, our pages are a little off, but
Yeah, that one there.
do you want me to zoom in on the picture?
The only thing we want to say about this,
This is the one you want, right?
well, I want to start with this one, Margaret, because with the 1 and 2.
Oh, okay.
It's very simple, quickly, that the blue route, the page 4.
Yeah.
The blue route was defined by the engineering firm as deflection route 1, and the green route, deflection route 2. And the reason they're separated like that is we feel like we can treat them differently from a legal standpoint. And so route 1 is 3rd Street and Columbia up to the park, and then route 2 is Worth Avenue, Orange Street, Park Place, Green Street, Fairview. And that's all I wanted to say about that. It's just so that when we talk about them later, we can have that reference.
And they combine in their recommendations, but they do talk about Route 1 and Route 2.
And we'd like to talk
Yeah,
about Route 1.
exactly. Does anyone have any questions about why these are legally different?
I guess I could say that the green route, Route 2, is defined as an access highway by the state of New York and the US government. And deflection route 1 is not. It is defined as a truck route by the city of Hudson.
And so for Route 1, Route 2, the green one, we are required to provide access for all trucks traveling on 9 coming up from the south or coming south on 9 from the north, and access for anything coming in on 23B. We are required to provide access to state highways through the city. And this is physically the only possibility, is the one that's there. Route 1, technically, the access highway that we have to provide for trucks coming in as far as the warehouse on 9 Street, we have no requirement to provide access beyond the warehouse. So we have a fair amount of discretion around what we can do at Route 1. Okay?
So essentially as, for posterity's sake, Route 2 is pretty much out of our hands. We can't touch it.
Well.
It would be very, yes.
Yes and no, Ronnie. What we are required to do is to provide access for something coming in on 9 from the south, coming down Worth Street. And anything coming south on Route 9, which is Fairview, or traffic coming in or exiting on 23B. Now, technically, we could send them up Prospect, but that is not really an option because there's a really bad turn to try to get onto Fairview from Prospect. We could change to have them go up Prospect, but that's not really feasible. What we are required to do is provide them access.
I see. So the way it stands that, it passing right next to the park is not like necessarily the only route that the access could take place. It could take place differently. It would just require significant capital investment on our part.
Yes, the only.
I just meant in the sense that we have to keep that access somehow connected through the city of Hudson. That cannot be changed.
That's exactly right. And we did look at, when you come down, you're coming from the south, you're coming down 9. You go, 10 Breck is actually in Greenport. And the very first place that you can turn off, other than coming down onto Worth and so forth, is Prospect. So the only option to provide access there is to do major work on Prospect to allow them to turn onto Fairview without coming into the park. But that's not really a feasible option.
I mean, we're still trying to look at in ways in which we can possibility of working with that intersection next to the hospital. Maybe we can tie it in somehow in the future, but I can understand as far as our mandate, we have no real option to do anything with 2, but Route 1 is the one that we can work with since it is.
Route 1 is the one where we actually have some things that we can put in place. We could put in place, and we'll get to that as we go through the report. We could put in place either weight limits or only allowing trucks of a certain type to come in on that route. We are not required to allow any truck that is passing through Hudson and not making a local delivery in Hudson to come in on 9G and exit on the eastern end of town.
Gotcha.
That's very important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to pick up a little further background on. I think we talked about the deflection testing before, just to make sure everyone understands what we did. We hired TransTech. They have a trailer that literally drops a weight, just the way that it's defined, a falling weight deflectometer. And the trailer has sensors at different distances from this dropped weight. And they use those sensors to analyze the stiffness and the structure of the roadbed. So that was the first thing that was done. They corroborate this with core drilling, which they came back and did core drilling a different date. It was very simply done, like a 4-inch hole was drilled. They pulled out the asphalt and in some cases the underlying concrete. And then they even went in and they could see a sample of the gravel that's all the way underneath, but they couldn't check the depth of it because they didn't have a way to pull the actual gravel. But some of the stuff in this report, that's just a little background on how it was done. And then they took that information from the deflectometer and the cores and did some estimations and some reporting on the serviceability and condition of the roads. If we can now go to page 5 with those graphs.
Can we look at the map on page 6 first?
Sure.
Because in the report, you're going to see references to various segments. Have you got that one up? So, A is 9G coming up until it becomes third. And then B is from third up to Columbia. C, which no surprise is one of the worst in terms of quality segments in the city, is Columbia from third to fifth. And then we go up north of fifth on segment D. And then we have E and F, which are going up Green Street out to Fairview and going out from the park to Worth. So that's just a reference point for in the tables when you see these segment references, that's where they are. And segment C goes out saying is probably the most problematic, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
So, now
we go to the
Now we
graphs.
go to the graphs, and you see those segments referenced on the graph. And the top graph, they've done a nice job of segmenting this, where Route 1 is represented in the top graph. And just by the scale of the amplitude of the lines, you can see that there's much more deflection in end of segment A through B onto C, and still fairly high on segment D. And then deflections on Route 2, which are E and F, Worth Avenue, through to Green Street and Fairview, is much less amplitude. It's under 20 mils. I don't think that number means anything to us, but it did to them. And it shows what we know, that Route 2 is much more solid than Route 1.
Can we go to the findings element 6.3, Logan?
Which would be page 9. Is that one you mean?
But 6.3.
Oh, 6.3. You want to look at 6.3 first before the,
Yeah, so I want to explain.
okay.
So one of the things when we met with them, because frankly, these graphs meant nothing to me. I didn't know whether it was a good thing or a bad thing, that it was high or that it was low. And so in 6.3, this really kind of explains.
What
this.
page are you on?
It's on
A 10.
page 10 in your book.
Okay.
So in this, they describe the deflection data, and they talk about relatively low deflection for E and F, A and F. And then the lower deflection indicate a stiffer, more sound pavement structure. So as you look at these graphs, low is good and high is bad. And then they talk about, in contrast, B, C, and D, located on South Third to Columbia, show significant variations in deflection response, ranging from 2 to 40. The pavement structure may be distressed at the surface or soft layers. The field images in Appendix C, which I didn't print this off, Appendix C, there are numerous patching areas and high cracking density on those sections where there's high deflection, which they say corroborates the causes of the high deflection. So essentially, the combination of visually inspecting the roads and the deflection confirms the fact that this is where we have significant issues. Combining this data with core structures, which was what Jason explained, and surface distress observations, the boundary and length for each segment are determined. So in their 6.3 is what connects back to these graphs. Okay. Let's see. That's that. Go ahead. Do you want to go to table?
Well, no, let's stick with this since we're on. We'll go to 6.4, which follows right along from that. On the flexible pavement sections, 3rd Street A and B, it's the start of 6.4. Right at the bottom of the first paragraph, it says, if the existing pavement is maintained without any major repairs, this pavement section will deteriorate structurally after 5 years.
And that's with maintenance. That's not ignoring it.
Yeah.
But unless you completely reconstruct it, it will deteriorate within 5 years.
And then continuing Columbia Street from 3rd to 5th, full depth repairs should be performed to repair and replace deteriorated underlying concrete prior to applying AC overlay. Columbia Street to North Fifth to Park Place, and Green and Fairview, minimum 2-inch mill and inlay to correct surface distresses. So those are kind of the summary of the recommendations. And so the 2-inch mill and inlay is what we typically have done annually with the New York State CHIPS money. That's what DPW contracts. The last contract was awarded to Colarusso. They did that on Columbia Street past the hospital and Washington Street a few months ago. And so that's a fairly typical repair that we're doing all the time in Hudson. It's a 2-inch surface layer of asphalt.
But that's not good enough for Columbia.
Well, let's go back to page 9, which has table 8.
Yeah.
And I had to write on top of mine. I was tired of looking at the letters A, B, C, D, and E. I'm trying to remember where they were. So I starts with 3rd, then it goes Columbia 3rd through 5th is C, Columbia 5th through Park Place is D, Green is E, and Worth is F. So I think the thing that's, since they didn't have a ton of space on their table, they used notes at the bottom with 1-star, 2-star, and 3-star. And so what I'd like to point out is Columbia 3rd through 5th segment C, estimated remaining life 5 years. However, if you go to the far right column, there's 3 stars, and you go down and read the note. A mill and inlay repair is strongly recommended to mitigate surface distresses, and that's just to get it to 5 years,
Right.
get it through 5 years. Then you move over to the 10-year plan to the left, and that's mill all AC. That means all asphalt to concrete. So 4.5 inches, remove it. Repair, there's 1 star there. Full depth repair means dig 12 inches, add gravel, compact it, and then go on top. So, so that's basically fully replacing all of the asphalt. And then to get 20 years out of it, they actually want to mill it, repair the sub base, and actually do 6.5 inches of asphalt. So there's somewhere in there that a choice to be made, but basically that's showing you how tough that is.
And the assumption in this table relates to, we have given them the truck study. So the assumption here is based upon current conditions with the trucks that are currently coming in, and they estimate an increase, I think, of 2% per year over time. So this is like, if the current condition continues, Columbia Street will only last 5 years if we do the mill and inlay of 2 inches. That's just to get it to 5 years, because it's just crumbling.
Currently not good.
Yeah.
So in comparison, as I said, the recommendation for Green Street and Worth Street is the mill and inlay 2 inches, which is what was done, as I said, on Columbia and Washington Street this year. And so I just took a chance and I called a connection at Colarusso. And I said, for these 2 routes, Route 1 and Route 2 are basically roughly 2 miles apiece. They're even in length, plus or minus. And so if they were to mill and inlay 2 inches all along Route 2, which starts at Fairview and ends at the beginning of Worth Avenue, that would be roughly $800,000 worth of work. It would be challenging to accomplish that in 1 year because of the amount of CHIPS money that's available. It's not $800,000. So that's one thing to know. So if you go to do the full repair and replace on the 2 miles of Route 1, they estimated more than $1.8 million to repair that section. And it's a logistical nightmare because you tear up the entire street. And it takes time to not only mill it, but dig it, get rid of that material, bring in new material. So that's where Margaret and I have discussed, like, that's the burden, that's a financial burden on the city to accomplish that. And even if we were able to somehow find the money for 1.8 million to repair Route 1, it's just a logistic nightmare to shut that down.
So they're putting a new sewer
Well,
there.
that's
Another issue.
another issue. It's not, yeah, it's coincidence, I guess.
Coincidentally, that was planned for 25, I think.
I think the engineering is be going on. That's all I know.
Just to throw that in there.
Yeah. So I guess, Margaret,
Sorry, I mean,
They're putting in a sewer in, on Union Street.
I know it's a nice mess, right?
It's so bad, my house is rattling so much.
Yeah.
That stuff is falling off shelves.
No.
I have things,
Yeah.
flying off shelves. That's about it.
Sure it's not the ghost.
Anyway, so,
so Margaret,
Yeah.
to you about what to say
Sort of
about
distract,
those budgets.
sort of move us from the sewer to the pavement, back to the pavement.
okay, so, clearly, I think the message that we have to get across to the full council is that the status quo cannot continue. It's not, and we're just talking about what it would take, you know, with the current traffic that we've got going through there. Given that we actually have some leeway and some discretion over what can and cannot come in on that route on Third to Columbia and up, we need to really talk about what we would like to recommend for that. There, as Jason said, there's very little we can do about the eastern end of town because we are required to give access. But I think what we have to talk about is how do we approach restricting what we allow to come into Hudson unless it's making a local delivery in the city of Hudson, right?
So Margaret, when we make a recommendation, my suggestion is using this study only as a reference and not really like calling back to it, but maybe making a 1-page, maybe a poster that has one, like a table with, this is, as it stands, if we do nothing, the potential cost to the city in the sense that damage to houses, damage to our roads, having to replace them in 5 years. And then maybe another part in that table would be, this is the step, if we take this step where we block off Route 1 and improve Route 2 in order to accommodate for 20 years what the cost would be on that. That would kind of paint a very clear picture to make it easy for the rest of the council to, weigh our options instead of having to look through this almost, 10, 12-page document of engineering jargon that even, most of us can't really, digest without it.
I'm beginning to have glimmerings of understanding having gone through it.
Right,
But
but I just think that we might get bogged down in the weeds if we were to present this specifically. Yeah.
Right, I
To
agree
the
with you, and I
council.
think the purpose of this committee is to look at stuff like this and then say, okay, how do we communicate to the full council what needs to happen here?
Right.
So before we talk about Route 1, I want to talk about a mitigation strategy for Route 2, where we are required to have these, and we have to allow even 53-foot trucks to come through on that road, the special dimension vehicles. And so, as you all know, coming down Worth, at the park on Park Place, right now, it's a two-way street. And there are frequently trucks going in opposite directions at the same time, jumping the curb, as I'm sure you've seen that. And I think what we should recommend to the council is that coming down Worth, going across Park, it would be one way towards Columbia. And then coming down from Green Street, you would continue on to 7th and then hang a left on 7th, which would be one way to the light. And then you could go left and exit onto Worth. And if we had a one-way circle there, which Fox actually has asked for, correct?
Well, yeah, this came about first as an idea because two ways. Fox wanted 7th Street to be one way. And so we started talking about it. I said, well, if 7th is one way, and they wanted it for the way they're handling the park, some things that they're doing to the park. If 7th is a one way, does it make sense to make Park Place a one way? And then I was walking, and I've seen it at least twice now. There's a company called SAIA that has red trucks, and their drivers actually make this turn already. They go south on 7th, wait for the light so they can avoid Park Place. And so, yes, there's multiple reasons that this is coming up as an option, and it seems to work for the truck route.
And I think that would be in the poster type presentation you talked about, Ronnie. I think we could put this in as, mitigation for the Worth to Fairview, and this nightmare in the middle of town would be we'll create a one-way system around the park. We will work on improving the quality of the roads using HIP money for Worth and Green and up towards Fairview. So that would be how we would address the fact that we cannot stop the through traffic because we're required to provide that access. That'd be one piece.
I think that would need a traffic engineering study.
You think?
I think anything you do, because I think you can get some grant money. If you do it properly with an engineering study, it's easier to get grant funding. And there might be something we're not thinking of that a traffic engineer would. I think it's important also to mention, you mentioned mitigation, and I think paving is the biggest, smooth pavement is the biggest mitigation for Worth Avenue, and Green Street.
So now let's talk about Route 1. There are two things we can do here. I
I don't wonder if we should just mention this, the trip there, they did have a recommendation about,
Okay, Jill.
I'm on page 11, under 6.5.
Yeah.
There is a recommendation from this engineering firm that class 7 trucks,
Yeah.
which is a 4-axle single unit. So that's like a dump truck, with no trailer. They were recommending to eliminate those and class 11 trucks, which I'm a little confused. There's something about equivalent single axle stuff, but that got us to thinking about weight limits. And so a class 7 truck is.
Before you say that, so for Ronnie and Duane online, they explicitly say they have higher truck factors compared to the design values. And Jason and I went back and looked at the design values. We looked at various weights and truck types. And they specifically say they are therefore not recommended to use the pavement sections in this project. They flat out say that they shouldn't be on the roads. So that's, I think, a very important statement.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree.
Can you repeat that? I got lost there.
What I just said?
Yeah.
Okay. Regarding the truck classification, and that's not, we can talk about truck classification, we can talk about weight limits, but at any rate, regarding the truck classification, according to an adjacent state agency's guide, typical class 7 truck and class 11 truck, 5-axle, etc., have higher truck factors, and the truck factors are related to the impact that they have on the street compared to a normal vehicle or car, compared to factors compared to the design value aforementioned, and therefore are not recommended to use the pavement sections in this project. In terms of truck weight limits due to they couldn't give us a truck weight limit recommendation. Basically, they're saying our roads can't support these trucks. And that's probably the clearest statement that they made.
Yeah, I agree.
So if you want now, you can talk about the different weight limits and truck types.
Yeah, so a class 7 truck, as I'm looking at here on some information I found, runs from 26,000 to 33,000 pounds. So we were looking at, and a type of truck that would be is like that we see a lot would be the
box truck?
a box truck, a sewage truck, possibly an empty 10-wheel dump truck. So we just started looking at different classifications and different things in that area of what would be reasonable. And so if it was a weight limit, we kind of came up with 20 tons, which is half of the 40 tons that is allowed on a tractor trailer. But we also kind of thought, well, we'd also like to just eliminate tractor trailers. So there was Massachusetts has some signs that they use that have like multiple, and it's probably, we go to the bit, Ken?
Yeah.
Thank you. These, I think, I don't know if I
Don't pick up if we have.
Oh. There it is. So this is a weird sign that, that they have in Massachusetts, which is,
Yeah,
I think would be
see
very
that sign in
helpful and important.
Massachusetts.
But that's an 8-ton box truck, a 12-ton tractor trailer with one wheel at the back, or a 16-ton double trailer. There's some other versions of it with different weights. But, so, we think it gets complicated, but we could consider a weight limit / style of truck limit, like no tractor trailers and nothing over 20 tons on that route. That's one approach that we thought of. Then we thought if you just eliminate the truck route, you know, it's no longer a truck route. The city has a base, anything that's not a truck route is 5-ton limit, which we thought was a kind of excessive. It may be excessive anywhere, but certainly for this route, it was probably excessive because then you couldn't even get a box truck through town on that route. What were the other solutions?
Well, so I'm trying to find the
Now,
table
which
where
route are we talking about? Just
Just one, just 3rd and Columbia.
I'm looking for the table where we were comparing, you know, their study, the factors that they had, the weights.
Oh, we didn't, that's not in their report. That's something that I have
Oh, that's something you
separately.
have.
This one.
Yeah. Okay, can you hold that up to Lonnie and Ron? I'm gonna scan these and send them out to everybody. What Jason is holding up, can I have that for a second? What he's holding up is something that, but in their report, they
linked to it.
listed these factors.
Right.
What page did they list those factors on?
Well, that was what you were just reading, that 6.5 section, the upper portion of 6.5.
Right, okay, so this document that Jason just showed you, which has images of various truck types, and then it has flexible versus rigid factors. And in their recommendation on 6.5, they say average truck factor of 1.35 for flexible pavement and 1.85 for rigid were adopted based on the manual. So that truck factor is what we should be trying to get at. And when I'll scan this and send it out to you, and you can see in here what configurations fall within or below the factors for flexible and rigid pavement. Looking at this, you know, we were thinking maybe a 20-ton limit would be good, but then you have to think about how do you enforce that? And I think we need to talk to the police department about that, because is it easier for them to enforce something that just says, you were suggesting, Jason, I think, that we would not allow
No tractor
no
trailers.
tractor trailers, basically. But
Right,
we would allow box trucks.
right.
We wouldn't, would be limited by axles or just no tractor trailers?
Yeah, that's, I think what gets confusing, because you know, a 10-wheel dump truck is very similar to a box truck on an image basis, but, or a style truck basis, but it can be very heavy. It can be 60,000 pounds or 30 ton. So, this is what we want to talk about, get opinions from you guys about, you know, do we try to make it just no tractor trailers? Do we try to do it a weight limit? Do we just eliminate it as a truck route, except for local deliveries? And then look at the basic, like the 5-ton limit that is the standard of non-truck route currently, which is not very heavy. Like I was telling Margaret earlier, my plumber drives a 5-ton truck. It looks like a pickup truck. It's just a big pickup truck. What's a reasonable amount? So, any thoughts?
And the idea of doing it on the basis of the style of truck is that the police department would have an easier job enforcing the type of truck versus, you know, we do now have pull-offs from the work hours. There's now 2 pull-off areas, and they could, using the state police, pull trucks over and they have mobile weight testing. So they have the capacity to do that, but it might be easier for them to simply visually say, this truck should not be in the city, unless it's meant to be local. So what, go on.
I guess the first thing is like a legal opinion on what are we able to do. Maybe get Crystal involved, and is there a legal headache to, you know, completely limiting it to 5, essentially eliminating the truck route? You know, what's our
We feel that
exposure to, you know?
We
Go ahead,
met with New York City DOT a while ago, a year ago.
Yeah.
And we felt, and opinions around the city through Rob Perry and others, that we control that route.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is the city that truck route.
Because
Yes,
Ron,
control that.
one of the reasons why we have control over all of that is that is it maintenance and repair, or maintenance and something or other? If the state is paying for the maintenance of the roads, they have control of the roads. And when they were doing the Stewart project, which Rob Perry pointed me, he sent me an email that he'd gotten from DOT, because they were saying, oh, no, we have to weigh in on how you're going to do everything around that project. And he said, no, you don't, because the city of Hudson does we don't get anything from you for maintenance and repair of this route. So it is that these are technically, there's literally no state route other than the access that we have to provide on the eastern end of town. The state has no control beyond the warehouse throughout the city of Hudson, because we maintain the whole thing, and DOT confirmed that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not really a question for Crystal so much as a question for DOT.
Okay. I just pulled up also, I don't know if you can see it on the projector there. There's maybe even a little bit of an easier way to do signage rather than do just pictures. This kind of breaks it down. Can you guys see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Something like this, if we do go the route of, you know, limiting based on axle and types, I think this is probably a lot easier for truckers and maybe even state police to be able to tell, instead of the original one that Jason had pulled up, I think, which looked more like this.
Yes.
Yeah. So
This one I've seen that in other state.
right.
It's
I mean,
fine.
essentially it's the same thing. This is saying this is 2 axles, 8 ton. This is 3 axle, 12 ton. 4 axle,
Show me
16 ton.
Ronnie, pull up the one you had. Yeah, this one's
Yeah.
good. I like this.
I mean, this is an arbitrary number. It would be based on what we want to put on there. It doesn't have to be these numbers. I just
No,
yeah.
can we modify the sign? Like, it says truck sign, then 2XL, 3 ton, like that,
Yeah, you can do whatever. I was just using it as a example instead of having a picture, which when you're
Yeah,
going so fast, you don't
pictures,
know what that
yeah,
means. This
yeah,
is fairly,
this is much clearer to me.
yeah.
So that's a good example. The 4 and 5 axle trucks with 18 ton and 22 ton, that's right in the range that we're talking about, because it's a common problem, right?
Yeah.
Can you pull it, Ronnie, can you display it again?
Yep.
Right,
Yeah. Yeah.
whoever did this sign had a similar problem that we have.
Yeah.
Can you,
And we could do this.
share this with, email it to us?
Yeah, of course.
Where did this come from?
I just pulled up truck signs. This is a Wikipedia example. But yeah, I'll forward this to you
I think
guys.
that gets at what we were trying to talk about, and, we could make, so, 5 axle is what? Is that a 5 axle?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We don't,
That's a standard.
we don't want that.
Well, no, it fits within what this report is recommending. It's a 5 axle tractor trailer. It's the trailer has 2 axles. That would count, but it's limited in weight. Because that truck is legally allowed 40 tons in most places, right? A 5 axle is usually allowed 40 tons. Margaret?
I don't know. Oh, sorry.
Just to throw another perhaps complicating factor, maybe you want to do it complicated. It may not
So-
even be feasible. Could you charge based on weight?
No,
I think
we
you
can charge.
You'd have to buy a toll plaza.
We don't want them in there.
But we don't,
Yeah, we don't
I
have.
don't want the money, I just don't want them on the roads.
Well, you could set the rate so that they would find another route.
No, we're gonna come to plan B in a
Oh,
second.
that's different scenario. Yeah, we can charge the truck. Anyway,
Duan, can you speak up at Tad?
no, I said like we can charge no truck when they go through the city. That's different. I was saying the 2XL 10 ton. That's the truck weight is 10 ton, right? Not with the load 10 ton.
No, those are all gross weights. Those are the full weight, Dewan.
Okay,
That's
okay.
loaded,
Yeah,
So
so
would a 2-axle be a box truck?
typically, yeah.
Okay.
Box truck, big pickup truck.
Okay.
Some actual dump trucks, right? A small dump truck has 2 axles.
Yeah.
And problem is you can't look at a 5 axle and know that it's more than 22 ton. You have to pull them over.
But then at least, you could, is there a legal limit to how much weight these various axles are allowed to have in gross weight?
There is, but that all leads to the 40 ton tractor trailer. I think they're around 20,000 pounds per axle, and that's why you're derating it essentially. These 5 axles.
So I get, what the reason I'm asking the question is, from the police department's perspective, for enforcement, could they make the assumption that anything up to X number of axles, we're gonna let through? But if it is a 5 axle, we're gonna wait,
Mhm.
to try to eliminate so that, they only have to worry about a certain type of truck that they need to weigh.
I think, no, because they mentioned class 7s of a certain weight that they don't recommend.
So I think the issue with the axles, the way they have different limits, is because for example, 20 tons distributed across 4 axles might actually be less than, let's say 10 tons in 2 axles because of how the weight is distributed, and it might cause more damage.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're getting at.
Yeah. So
Ronnie,
we can't just say like, we won't allow anything over 5 tons without having to any consideration. Let's say a 2 axle truck has 20 tons. We're not worried about that, but that actually might potentially cause more damage to the city roads than a 40 ton across 5 axles, you know.
So
Yeah.
Ronnie, would your recommendation be to base it on axles?
I think we have to consider both axles and the weight. I know it might be a little bit of a pushback from the people that are doing the enforcing, but if our aim is to eliminate damage to our roads and potentially to our houses, we have to be able to eliminate those things that do the damage. And it's not really based on only axle or only weight, it's how they affect the roads themselves. That makes
How do
sense.
they move? I'm lost.
The weight thing, okay. Back when Chief Moore was there, and then Chief Franklin also has confirmed the same thing. The state police have mobile, weight, scales.
They just put it under one
They
tire
just put it, right.
and they multiply.
And one of the challenges was that when you, coming up past the warehouse, there was nowhere to pull anybody over. So you have to be able to pull the truck over to have a place to actually inspect. We now have that because Colarusso put in 2 stretches. So on 9G, we could in fact, pull trucks over and wait.
So I think I already kind of said this, but the devil's advocate, Ronnie, just the simplicity of eliminating anything with a tractor trailer style. Like if you have a tractor trailer and you're empty, you can come through town because you don't weigh over 20 tons.
Mhm.
But I can't tell. You might
Right.
be fully loaded
Amen.
and be 40 tons. But so you kind of sneak through with the idea like they're not going to know I'm loaded. But
Yeah.
if you don't have that style of truck at all, a trucker's not going to try to sneak through.
Right. Yeah, I
Like,
mean, if
and
we
if
have
you
the
go to
option to
the-
eliminate it, might as well eliminate it.
Because if you go to the extreme of just saying that's not a truck route, it's really going to be deterrent.
Yeah.
Right? You can't sneak through if it's not a truck route. And I think that's extreme. I do, but I'm just like throwing ideas around.
So essentially what we would be saying is, any truck that comes, and we're gonna define a truck as tractor trailers, right? Is that how we're defining a truck?
I think we're still talking about different scenarios. Are you trying to get to a final solution?
No, I'm just thinking,
That is a scenario that I'm
that's
putting
just
on
not,
there.
yeah.
But then theoretically, you'd still allow a 10-wheel dump truck weighing 60,000 pounds, which would probably be damaging.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing we have to remember is that we have to allow even 53-foot long trucks in Hudson that are making deliveries within the city of Hudson.
Right, but there's not enough volume possibly, because part of what this report does, as you said, analyzes the truck study that MJ Engineering did, and it's a volume thing as well. So it helps to reduce volume as well.
Like, the Harney, is it Harney and Sons?
Yeah,
They have very large trucks going down there. But I think a lot of the really large trucks coming through are going up to Walmart, Lowe's and so forth. And if we can get rid of all of those, that would be a big thing.
How about ADM?
ADM as well.
Yeah.
I don't know what they weigh
They
loaded,
must be very heavy.
I would think.
I don't think they're making local deliveries, are they?
No.
No,
that's what she
they're
said.
using,
Yeah, but you see, they'd be gone as well.
yeah, I know, that's what I'm trying to get it.
Yeah. So if we went to the extent of eliminating a truck route, and then we tried to address the fact that our non-truck route limit is 5 tons, and we raised that some, that could be a recommendation. Like, let's make that more reasonable. Could we eliminate that as truck route and say 10 tons if not on the truck route, 20 tons if not on the truck route, I don't know. What would be, that could be a potential.
I mean, based on the study, what would be
Appropriate.
ideal, right? Target loading 9,000 pounds. So, am I reading that correctly? I might just have pulled that out.
Sorry, say it again?
We should base that, like the limit should be based on what, the state manual will say, because isn't that what the study kind of points us, like we should be following state guidelines of what, normal road. I guess we would have to look up what the state guideline is for the type of roads paving that we have across the city. Instead of trying to just, potentially appease somebody's feelings.
So question,
Yeah.
what's the capacity our road could handle? What's the highest?
I'm sorry, can you say that? I need to turn off my hearing aids. Hang on a second.
I was wondering, what's the maximum weight our road can handle?
The maximum road of most roads, and I did ask Colarusso if there's any basic road is gonna have 4 inches of asphalt and a 12-inch base, and that is designed for 40 tons.
40 ton.
But they're saying the current condition of Columbia and Third do not reach that level.
They cannot support it.
Yeah, I know, because there's a swore underneath and a lot of construction underneath
Right.
the road.
Right.
So I want to come back to Jason's comment about eliminating truck routes. So we need to separate two things in our minds. Trucks, I'm using the term loosely, that are delivering within the city of Hudson, can drive anywhere they like
Right,
within the city of
we
Hudson.
can't
That's
control
a
that.
given, okay? What we need to focus on is, what do we want to allow to come through Hudson to get to the other side beyond the eastern end of town? That's where we can put a limit. And if we're going to put a limit on through traffic, is it wise to say, hey, once you come in to Hudson, it's a free-for-all, you can drive on any street you like? I think that's chaotic. Because the one thing we don't really want trucks coming in Warren Street.
Like a box truck.
I do think that we should have a preferred route through the city if you're going through the city.
That is something you'd lose.
And the preferred route would be past Denver's house.
Bring them by.
No, but I mean, I think we have to think about that. Because,
But smaller,
what?
but smaller.
Yeah, they'd be.
When you say,
They'd be smaller, but I think,
I think the simple way to talk about it is box trucks versus tractor trailers, and then we can talk about weights otherwise.
I really don't think we want trucks going down Warren Street.
I mean, they do,
Not as much as Columbia.
but like a 6-wheel box, a 3-axle box truck going up Warren Street, is that the end of the world? Not great going up Union Street,
But it's okay on Union Street once you get past the courthouse.
right?
Actually.
Right?
But the Union Street is problematic from the courthouse to Front Street. And the same, well, Allen doesn't exist. Allen starts there.
I'm confused, because if you're. Why are we creating an avenue through the city unless it's a local delivery, they can go anywhere?
If the local delivery is everywhere.
So what are we trying to do now? I'm lost. Like,
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
I guess the scenario she's saying is if we eliminated that as a truck route, and then a box truck
But just choose.
was still
whatever
gonna
route.
come through town and could
And
go
they can
any way they
choose-
want,
They can choose whatever route they want.
But we're-
That's something we want.
but we're still gonna set a weight limit.
Right.
We currently, it's 5 ton. It can stay 5 ton, and then we get everything we want. We eliminate the truck route, that's like, that's the rosiest scenario, right?
Right.
Yeah, eliminate it totally.
Yeah.
Eliminate it totally, and then
it's
5
only-
tons, and it just stays, and
That's it, and then it's only local deliveries.
right,
That's
unless you,
simple.
unless you stay on Route 2, and that's, I got
But
no
it's
problem.
the same.
5 ton is too low, I really do. I think, if you're
Well-
gonna go weight.
Margaret, why are you thinking it's too low if they still have access to the Route 2? If they needed to go through City of Hudson, they can, if they're larger than 5 tons, they just go through Route 2.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're so
I mean,
right,
I thought so, it seems like we're not getting anywhere.
yeah, yeah,
They still have Route 2 as an option, so we can eliminate entirely Route 1 from the truck map if it's within our rights to do so. And you're
It is
confirming
within
that yeah, if DOT has told us it is.
I agree with Ronnie. We should eliminate truck route totally from the.
I mean, I want to hear from Margaret why she thinks 5 tons is
No,
too low.
I don't have a firm opinion on it, Ronnie.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
just trying to, what, like, particularly if we don't have good enforcement. I'm just trying to imagine, particularly for Warren Street, what that might mean. Because Warren Street is our commercial district, it's our business district.
But if they're making a local
that's
delivery,
right.
they have the right to.
Oh, no, I'm talking about through, I'm not talking
oh,
about.
through, they should be on Route 2, they should be on,
They should be on
They
the
should
other
only be on
end, and
Route
then
two.
they come in. They don't come up Columbia at all.
Wait, what does a 5 ton truck look like? Like you say your plumber has
a very large, it's an F-350, fully loaded,
okay,
you know, a big pickup truck.
okay. So, smaller size U-Haul box truck, stuff, what minute will it be 10 ton?
No,
Well,
it'd be in the same range,
I'm just trying to visualize.
yeah. I mean,
No,
it's a
Ronnie,
big-
I'm
Like,
drawing, I
for
don't sound
example,
like
the
a fixed,
Taconic Parkway does not allow,
what's the limit on the truck?
I'm just bringing up what Taconic Parkway does not allow trucks at all.
Oh, that's because the, oh, right,
Right.
that's because of the bridges, yeah.
Yeah, and that
So
includes like a personal vehicle because based on
That's-
class, they can be considered commercial and over the weight limit.
And I'm just bringing up other.
No,
Yes.
that's actually,
This is the simplest, that is the simplest one to enforce, right?
Yeah, then
You
the
just-
police are not weighing things, it's just
Just
simply.
look at it,
no
that's a truck.
coming in that way. If you wanna come into Hudson, you go on the route that's the,
Route 2, yes.
unless you're making a local delivery.
Yeah,
I
if
think
we,
what I heard
So if I
tonight,
see a Walmart truck coming in there, I stop them and say, are you making a local delivery in Hudson?
Obviously not.
Pardon me?
A Walmart delivery would not be in local, right? Because they're in Greenport.
no, it
Exactly.
could be if they're, it could be if they're delivering to me.
Yeah, but that's not
they,
right.
they don't come with a big truck.
If I have an appliance being delivered from Lowe's, you're gonna see a big Lowe's truck coming down Union
It's-
Street.
yeah, it's more like
a tractor trailer.
no, it'll be a box.
No,
Are you kidding me? I
That's a-
have delivered vehicles.
but they're
No,
not
there's
coming in.
sometimes there's some tractor trailer, I know.
They're coming out.
No, I'm just saying that it is possible to have a local delivery.
Sure, but the police pulls them over and asks them.
I mean, the trucks I see passing on Columbia,
Oh, I know, they're not.
that's what. we're
So,
trying to get.
Margaret,
Yeah,
Margaret, so I think we should eliminate whole truck route from the city of Hudson, because if we go with the other route, like, weight and stuff like that, we don't have enough enforcement to monitor those. And once there is a weight limit or axle limit on it, then always truck are gonna try to go through that route. So I think we should totally just eliminate the truck route and Hudson.
okay,
No.
so, as you all know, I don't like to go over time. Excuse me.
Okay.
Sorry,
You want a cough drop?
sorry,
You want a cough drop?
no, I'm okay. I want for our next meeting, for us to have, I want to draft a recommendation that we can take to the council.
Okay,
So can each of you, I like Ronnie's idea of having like a one-pager description, particularly of the cost. Pull out statements like, you know, this class thing, not recommend use paving in this project. Highlight the condition of the roads, the longevity, the predicted lifespan of some of our roads, particularly, and focus really on Route 1. Could we commit to each of us coming up with a simple description of what you would like to recommend to the council? And if you can get that to me, say within a week, is that reasonable? And then I can work on putting together something that we can circulate so that at our next meeting, we're coming up with a document that we're going to submit to the informal council in November for discussion in the November council. Does that make sense to everybody?
yeah,
I think what I'm hearing very strongly from the committee is we just want to eliminate the trucks on Route 1,
Yes.
right? That's what you're all
Yes.
thinking, right?
Yeah, and we've
Yes.
done the due
Yeah.
diligence and we have the studies to back up why we want to do it. It's not just like, I don't feel like having these trucks.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, I think that's
And
fine.
it's clear that the damage that's already been done to Columbia
Right.
is radically harmed in serious shape.
I
And
think,
it
and we
doesn't
have
talk
to
about,
emphasize,
about buildings.
it's not
we
only
also-
that, yeah, it's
we have
not
to
only
emphasize-
damages the property
I
and,
understand, I think it's just very clear that that is the most damaged at risk already.
Yeah.
So take the trucks off as soon as we can.
Yeah.
Is the case that we can make by this study and all, and the numbers, the money, et cetera.
but yeah, the money's, Duane, what were you saying?
no, I was saying the truck is not only damages the property and the road and stuff like that, it damages the neighbors too, like, you know, health
Oh,
conditions
it's
and
very,
stuff
yes,
like that,
health-wise,
yeah.
health-wise. Yeah, I mean, we haven't even touched any of the issues relating to pollution and health and asthma.
Right.
We haven't touched on that, and that is a very significant issue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if y'all could commit to getting me, it doesn't have to be like a big formal thing, but just your recommendations and how we go. Ronnie, if you could work on putting together like just a schematic of how you would present that one pager you talked about, I think that's a very good suggestion. And then we pull out key information from the study itself. The other thing I want to mention, which I think is going to be very important, of course, if we eliminate trucks, period, that's even better. But I want to work with the police department on getting serious enforcement of the speed limit. Because even for the Route 2 up on Worth and so forth, if we seriously enforce the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, they will find that it is actually better to not turn down 9 into Hudson to get to points north, and they'd be better off continuing up on 23 to whatever that Blue Pond, Blue Bell, whatever it's called. Bell Pond, I don't know.
Bill's
You know,
Pond.
Thanks. That's actually, you know what, this is more trouble than it's worth. We don't want to go through this. But I think that's, I think putting that in place is going to be very important. And we need to put, I'm going to be working with different people to put in the passive, your speed is 26 miles an hour, whatever, at different key points of entry into the city, so that we can kind of tame down that level of traffic. So, yeah, so next steps, you're going to give me your thoughts. I'm going to circulate something so that we can have something to discuss and finalize at our next meeting. That will go to the informal and then to the formal in November to vote on. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Sure.
Congratulations on this study.
Thank you all very, very much. And thank you for reading this. I just had such a.
It's better than War and Peace.
Is it? I haven't read one.
This is actually a revision.
I'm about a quarter way through for the last 10 years, so I'll let you know how that.
Yeah.
The first version,
Yeah.
The first version was completely incomprehensible.
Well,
And they didn't spell out any of the acronyms. And I was Googling everything, trying to figure out what in God's name did this mean. And they wouldn't even tell us those graphs that they have.
these core pictures are really
They
good.
wouldn't even tell us. I'm looking at it and I'm like, is high good? Is it bad?
Yeah.
Is there some show at which this is not a good thing? At what point should we panic?
Jason, would you have some time to help with the, trying to put together this one pager? It seems like you taking the time to really get into the, weeds of the study. I would appreciate your help if you can.
Absolutely. No problem.
Yeah, we could set up a time that we can kind of try to have a working session. If you wouldn't mind, I don't know if you prefer email or text, you can grab my number from either of the two ladies over there. They have.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right. Or
Yeah.
or you can email the city email.
Okay.
Yeah, add me too, please.
Sure.
I'll do that.
I will give Jason both of your cell phone numbers.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Have a good
Good
evening.
night.
You did record this, right, Logan? Because
Yeah, it's recorded.
If you want to scan it.
Yes, and I'm going to, the things that Jason held up, I'm gonna scan and send to everybody,
Sure.
so that you can have these to look at. Oh, you didn't show them this one, I got this one. Egremont.
It's the same. It's just another version of
Yeah.
all the ones.
Egremont has a great little sign, and in Egremont, if you put 1 foot wrong, you're getting a ticket.
Civilized over there.
Very, and all the houses are painted white.
They got it organized.
Okay, thank you all very, very much.
All right, vote
Okay,
to,
good night.
what do you,
Yeah, we need a motion.
yeah,
to
motion
adjourn.
to, stop.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Great. Good night,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thursday, 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Come on,